And who is supposed, by virtue of his position as a Secretary General for People's Front for Freedom, to sign, who is supposed to be signing on those who will be getting the flag to hold the ticket for the party, that is People's Front for Freedom. And he is also the spokesperson of this party, as well as Chila Municipality MP, Honorable Ibrahim Ssemujju Nganda. Good morning to you, Honorable.
Good morning. Just a small clarification. Secretary General, spokesperson, we did that for easy communication, but my full titles, I am Chief of Staff and Brand Manager.
Brand Manager. Of course, as you said, titles that that of course comes with the responsibility that you hold. But yesterday was also one of those big days that you held as a party. But if I may say, is it a right description of what is happening within the political space if I say now is a time of self-centered leadership that is we are seeing around?
First of all, you need to understand that most of the individuals seeking to contest the elections, the first decision is in the video. Once an individual has decided that I want to contest, I want to offer myself, then he will look for a platform that is going to give him advantage. And that's why in the last elections, at the parliamentary level, we had 1,200 independent candidates. Yet the total positions competed for were 529. The NRM, of course, had more candidates, less the one of Zimbabwe. I was in FDC, we had 224. The Unity platform had about 184. So there are more independent candidates contesting for parliamentary seats than all the candidates of political parties combined. So the individuals will make the decisions, then they will look around. It is not that it's self-centered. Human beings are very ambitious. The human nature is selfish. But it doesn't mean that someone who wants to be in parliament does not want to make a contribution. I have seen footballers who are paid whether they are fielded or not, but also fighting hard and even throwing tantrums when they are being substituted. That's human nature. So I don't think by many people looking for platforms, moving from one place to another, that in itself takes away their desire to make a contribution. I think human nature is such that everybody will want to be the one to provide a solution. I have driven a car in a village and to get stuck. People who are coming to help you, each will come with his own solution, and he thinks it is his solution that must work. They are not even working for money. So this season we are in, politically, people will change their platforms, looking for platforms that are going to give them advantage, or leaving platforms they thought initially will give them advantage, but they haven't given them. So it's normal in
let me maybe quantify my statement, because you, when you left FDC and the group that you went with to form PFF, at least there were reasons. Many people say that, well, they held water. But for now, when someone today is praising different party, different personality, and the following day, just because has been denied a ticket, a flag, says, well, I'm joining so-and-so. And today, yesterday, you welcomed them. Tomorrow, if you deny them a ticket, because, for example, I'll give you an example of Chila Municipality. The person who has been a mayor is joining you, that is Julius Mutebi, where there are already other people like Ssemujju Napoleon, who have already expressed interest in contesting on the flag of PFF for the same position that he is also eyeing. We are almost going to see the same situation. For how long will these people, individuals, jump from one party to another because they want to be...
Because first of all, the political parties in Uganda, most of them are platforms of people seeking offices, most of them. If you go to NRM, their chairman wants to be a presidential candidate, but he's presiding over processes. Most of those individuals in NRM, Bayomus and others are also contesting. The same to National Unity Platform. Their president wants to be a presidential candidate, the secretary, and so on and so forth. If you come to PFF, it's going to be the same story. until political parties in Uganda are built, I have said this many times and I want to repeat it for emphasis. I was in Ghana. The Secretary General of the main, of course they have only one main opposition party, resigned his job in Parliament to concentrate on becoming Secretary General. Here we have Secretary Generals resigning from party headquarters to join the Parliament. So if we build political parties and they have finances and you don't have candidates running, because most of the mistakes that we make and this movement from one platform to another, it is because candidates are the ones who's starting those platforms to allow, to give themselves an advantage when they are competing. If political parties were started not by candidates, maybe the situation would be different. I have said this and I want to repeat. People who are running to PFF to be endorsed will not be able to endorse all of them because the positions are fixed. If the sole purpose for which they are joining PFF is to be endorsed, and certainly they don't get endorsed, they will be on their way to another political platform. Maybe the season will cut them short. Because nominations that are starting today, I have looked at a program in Wakiso, at a district level this week, nominations will close, and then they'll start municipality and so on, and other. So until the nomination day or the nomination process is closed, you, the media, brace yourself. You're going to see people moving from, I mean, in the last election, we had someone who went to nominate on a different platform, and in the nomination center is where he now jumped on another platform. So that is becoming normal. It's not the desirable, but that's what it is.
But doesn't this cause more disorganization than organization internally, but also across the political divide, especially for the opposition? If one is jumping from here and there, he's bringing the baggage from a different political party to PFF, for example, and then disorganizes you the more. As, of course, we know time is running out. Already nominations are beginning today. Doesn't this cause more confusion?
So the dust will settle. The closure of nominations will settle the dust. But I also, because you see the mistake people make is to think that political parties have all the candidates that they require. If you look at the strategic plan of the Electoral Commission, I haven't looked at the final tally. The last election, 2021, we had 2.8 elective positions in Uganda, 2.8 million. The Electoral Commission had projected about 3.1 million. I have told you we needed 529 candidates when we were still in FDC. We are only able to raise half. National Unity Platform didn't even raise half of the parliamentary candidates. The only trouble you have is that people who are moving from one platform to another are doing so mainly in the Kampala metropolitan. If you go to other areas, our work is going to be actually to identify and persuade people to contest. For me, these movements around here is not a problem. The big problem that all of us are facing as opposition parties is that there are areas where we are unable to raise candidates. Not because the support is not there, but the cost of campaigning is a huge cost that, which is a deterrent. I mean, many people don't want to subject themselves to elections when they don't have all the necessary requirements. So this movement around here will stop. Nominations will stop them. Okay. It's not desirable, but that's what it is. So you work with what is available.
For me, that's how we look at it. For me, how I look at it is the biggest problem that you have as leaders of the opposition is causing cohesion, because we've seen different causes. For example, United Forces of Change, you have the TDA process, 2015, 2016, but still, at a time when the evening hour, when you're supposed to be getting together, you get into disarray. This should be a biggest problem.
Same problem, because, as I said, there have been many meetings with the colleagues in other parties. But you go on a table when all of you are candidates. And unity means that some of you will relinquish the opportunity, and many people are not willing to do that. That's why most of our discussions have not yielded the results, because they are discussions between candidates, and each candidate is determined. That's why when they don't have the opportunity to run as parties, they will certainly go and run as independents. So the desire is there that we need to be united, but the trouble is that who gives way when you unite? And that's what has failed us in all the previous attempts. Because I was in TDA, that time I was the spokesperson of the FDC. The discussion, do we have Westje, do we have Mbabazi? When eventually we disagreed, those who wanted Mbabazi went away with Mbabazi, and then we remained with Dr. Westje. It is the same problem even within the NRM, because you see, for you are looking now at between the parties, but there are also problems within the parties themselves. The reason you have 73 members of parliament who are independent, majority of them participated in NRM primaries. Yes. So you're looking at the unity of the opposition, but the unity of the party itself is also at stake. Because people you are unable to sponsor will either come as independent, or they will be the ones moving from one platform to another.
Yeah, but when you talk about that kind of internal, maybe ununity, disunity, let me also drive the viewers' attention to you as a PFF. Previously, you had a coalition kind of with the ANT, but up to now, people were, some of them were skeptical that maybe it would be the Lord Mayor now who is coming back for seeking fourth term. We know that already ANT has already declared their flag bearer for presidential 2026. Is the ANT PFF, the unity, the marriage you had, looking at fronting or backing General retired Mugisha Muntu?
We signed a cooperation agreement, and then the discussion on the areas of cooperation was supposed to commence. That signing was an expression of intent. It was not the final product itself. So our discussion continues, but because we are mature politicians, we went into this cooperation knowing that within the same party you may have disagreements. Those disagreements will multiply when you are more than one party. But we said we need to identify areas of cooperation. Those areas of cooperation are not limited to candidates. They are wider. Do you protect the votes together? If you have problems with the management of the election by the Electoral Commission, do you want to address it individually, or you want to address it as a team? So our discussions continue. But I want everybody to understand that these discussions are not limited to fielding of joint candidates. They are wider. They cover areas of vote protection, areas of voter education, candidate identification in areas where both of us are non-existing, but also what will happen if we succeed in the next elections, if we don't succeed. So our discussions are broader. The tendency by many Ugandans is to think that when you see two parties coming together, the aim is just the identification and fielding of joint candidates. No, ours is wider than that.
Let's also look at, we talked about different areas that you want to look at with this cooperation and working together. Previously, the party you left, that time was, I think it was 2016, when retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye was on the ballot. You introduced what was called then Power 10, P10. What would be the strategy of PFF trying to see that you safeguard your vote? Because it would be meaningless for you to go into a vote and then you cry after the other day that you've been rigged your vote has been rigged.
First of all, we will not disclose everything that we are preparing. Otherwise, if you lay your chest bare, it means the enemy will attack you ruthlessly and easily. We are building structures, we are building teams. These teams are going to be based in the areas, in their electoral areas. They are responsible for our campaigns. They are responsible for vote protection, and in some areas they are responsible for candidate identification. So these teams exist, they haven't gone away. So Power 10 did not die. Those people are still there. We have trained them at the national, sub-regional, and at district levels. So we are preparing. The only unfortunate thing is that you go into these elections thinking that you're going to compete against a political party, and then you end up competing with JAT. Because our people are not armed. So if the competition is between us and the JAT and the military, I want the country to judge us against that new standard. That competing for elections in Uganda is not competing against NRM, but you're competing against the military. And the failure, if it happens, it is not failure because you do not organize yourself. It is because you've met a different opponent. You went thinking that you're going to be competing against an NRM candidate, but the NRM candidate arrives with JAT and SFC behind him. So even if you have assembled a team, that team is going to be shot, that team is going to be arrested, that team is going to be brutalized. And if you saw what happened in Kawempe, I think you will understand what I'm talking about. But preparing for a civic activity called the elections, that we have prepared ourselves. We continue preparing ourselves. Preparing for war, that if the war is brought onto us, we can only defend ourselves, but we are not going into this election preparing to fight anyone.
All right. Would also want to understand the strategy within PFF of identification of potential candidates, because we've seen some of the issues why we are here is because some people felt disgruntled and joined you. And others within the NRM, we know how they've been having their issues with the primaries. What is the strategy like within a PFF of choosing potential leaders?
The constitution of PFF provides for 3 layers. First, if we have more than one candidate, we encourage them to sit down. Because these elections, you can judge yourselves even before you go into the election themselves. You will know that you have the basic requirements to be a candidate. And those basic requirements include nomination fees, but also the ability to print for yourselves the necessary campaign materials. That's the very basic. If you are going to campaign at a parliamentary level, you should be able to have means of communication. If you can't hire a public address system and you are a parliamentary candidate and the party has no capacity to sponsor you, it means you are entering an exercise extremely vulnerable. So we encourage our candidates to sit together and build consensus. When they fail, we go to the next layer, which is the vetting. Vetting, by its nature, is not a simple exercise. You have committees. We've set up committees to vet, especially at a national, but there are also committees within the sub-regions and also within districts. If that fails and you have issues, then you complain. Our court of appeal are the eminent persons. Because we are registered on the 5th June, midway the exercise, we've not been able to set up all the necessary political and election infrastructure throughout the country. That I want every person joining PFF to know that. We may have to ask other people to do that work on our behalf. We may at one time not go through the process as stipulated by our constitution, because please understand us that we are registered on 5th June when the electoral exercise was already underway.
All right, when I'm talking about the electoral exercise, I know that for now, being the head of the chief of staff, also head of branding, you were able to know by now how many people you've been able to field, or you're trying to field for now, because I know it's still nomination, picking expression of interest and picking up nomination forms. But what is the picture like across the country or within the central region?
The last time I checked, we had about 200 and more parliamentary candidates, but I have told you the seats available are 529. So as a party, new as we are, we will not be able to raise 100% of parliamentary candidates. But we have others who keep coming in. Either initially they wanted to be independent, or they think they have been unfair treated where they are, especially in areas where we have not identified the candidates. If they come and we do a background check and they pass the test, we will assign. This is the most difficult period to recruit a person, because people are coming to join you. Some of them haven't even read your constitution. They don't understand the values of the party they are joining. They are only pursuing an opportunity to go and contest. At local government, it's still very difficult. The returns haven't returned from the field because this is done. We sent stamps authorizing our coordinators and secretary generals and in areas in more than 114 districts. So the endorsement of candidates started, the commissioning by commissioners of oath is ongoing. So at a local government, I will only be able to know how many people were presented when the exercise has ended and the returns have been sent back to the headquarters.
But of course, well knowing that time is not on your side, given that fact that today nominations are beginning at the district level, but also towards that time of October. But away from that, you're also the shadow minister of opposition, shadow minister of finance for opposition, alternative government. And we're at a time when we know that this is a time of heavy spending, both from the government but also from you, the opposition. Let's talk about the issue of commercialization of politics vis-a-vis implementation of services on the ground. This is also told.
See, what worries me as a shadow minister for finance is that the execution of the budget this financial year is going to be very difficult. Particularly these NRM processes that you see, because the NRM does no business, at least none. But they are the ones responsible for the national treasury. I am 100% sure that Mr. Museveni is using public resources to fund the NRM. Because look, the simple test they have failed. When the NRM National Executive Committee and the Central Executive Committee are meeting, they are meeting in the State House. State House is not an NRM office, that's a public facility. Eating food that we provide, because you must be aware that every financial year we pass a budget to buy Mr. Museveni and his family food, to buy fuel. So that's the starting point, and that's what should worry a citizen who pays taxes, that money meant for social service provision is being used by NRM for their own internal processes. That's one layer. The second layer, which you pointed out, the commercialization of politics. The moment politicians begin buying these offices, they are rendering themselves vulnerable, and majority will be corrupt, or will be corrupted, or will be compromised. Because if you've spent, like I saw the Deputy Speaker claiming, if you spend 5 billion to access an office, and your salary in 5 years will not come to 2 billion, it means there's something else that you are targeting, not particularly this particular office. Because offices are also used for people to access other opportunities unfairly, to make deals. One time we had complaints in Parliament that MPs were using Parliament for deal making. Majority of those who are paying through their noses are not doing so because they have identified there is a bigger salary there that is attracting them. But they are looking at this platform as a platform to go and cut deals, platforms to go and extort money if you are at a parliamentary level and local government.
All right.
If you are in a local government and you are given a budget, that budget, one time we are doing...
Well, they will tell you that the MPs of NRM, they deduct some of their money to fund the party, and well,
you know, that's to a simple person, and I am not simple. You addressed me as a shadow minister for finance. Just for NRM to compile their register, they spent 42 billion. They brought here 30,000 delegates. Each delegate was being given about 2 million. So the amount of money that NRM spends, abnormal sums of money, absolutely is taxpayers' money. But they can go on pretending that this is from Electoral Commission, this is from contribution of MPs. This is just pretense.
All right. Your final word to the members of PFF, but also to the general public watching us live on MorningAtNTV.
To the PFF family, understand why we are in this. We have told you time and again, if the sole purpose for which you join the PFF is to look for opportunities, these opportunities may not come to you. Please, you made the wrong decision to join the PFF if you are hunting for opportunities. Those who want these opportunities, illegally, the right address is NRM. They are the ones who are involved and engaged in corruption. if you want to change the direction of the country, it means, first of all, you have to sacrifice yourself, sacrifice your own resources, sacrifice your time. Then if that was the motivation for you to join PFF, you are in the right address. Beyond that, please don't waste your time in a platform whose direction is different from yours.
Thank you so much. The Shadow Minister of Finance, he is also Chila Municipality MP seeking a ticket again on the PFF platform, but also he's the head of the Chief of Staff as well as head of branding for People's Front for Freedom, and the spokesperson. Of course, that is the position that you can equate to being the spokesperson and Secretary General of People's Front for Freedom. Thank you so much for your time and actually welcoming us at your offices here in Chilinya. Handing you back to Chris Igenyi in the studios for more conversations here on Morning at NTV. Stephen Mbide here